Captain Sarah Chen stood at the massive viewing window of Luna Station, watching the final construction work on humanity's greatest achievement. The ship before her stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull gleaming under the artificial lights of the shipyard. After 15 years of secret construction, the Prometheus Unbound was finally ready. Sarah had been chosen to command this vessel after a career spanning 25 years in Earth's defense fleet. She had fought pirates in the outer colonies, defended mining stations from raiders, and earned respect throughout human space. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. The ship's design broke every rule of conventional space warfare. Where other vessels relied on thick armor plating, the Prometheus Unbound used something called quantum-folded protection. The scientists explained it as armor that existed in multiple dimensions at once, making it nearly impossible to damage. Sarah didn't pretend to understand the science, but she had seen the test results. Admiral Martinez approached from behind, his footsteps echoing in the observation deck. "Impressive, isn't she?" he said, joining Sarah at the window. "She's massive," Sarah replied. "I've never seen anything like her." "That's because there's never been anything like her," Martinez explained. "This ship represents everything humanity has learned about warfare, engineering, and survival. We've poured our best technology into her hull." Sarah studied the weapon systems visible along the ship's exterior. Strange barrel-like structures emerged from the hull at various points, unlike the standard laser batteries found on other human ships. "Those aren't normal weapons, are they?" "Stellar plasma manipulators," Martinez said with a slight smile. "They can draw energy directly from the nearest star and focus it into concentrated beams. The engineering team calls them Star Eaters." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Humanity had built weapons that could harness the power of stars themselves. The implications were staggering. "There's more," Martinez continued. "The AI core processes tactical information faster than most alien species can think. It can calculate battle scenarios, predict enemy movements, and coordinate defensive systems in microseconds." Sarah had heard rumors about the ship's artificial intelligence, but seeing the massive processing centers during her preliminary tours had been shocking. The computer systems took up 3 entire decks of the ship. "Why all the secrecy?" Sarah asked. "Why build this in hidden sections of Luna Station?" Martinez's expression grew serious. "Because the Galactic Council has treaties limiting military development. Ships can only be so large, weapons can only be so powerful, and certain technologies are completely banned." "And this ship violates those treaties?" "Every single one of them," Martinez admitted. "The Council believes in maintaining balance between species. They think no one civilization should have overwhelming military advantage." Sarah understood now why her assignment had come with such strict confidentiality agreements. Humanity had deliberately built something that would terrify the rest of the galaxy. "The inspection fleet arrives tomorrow," Martinez said. "The Galactic Council sends representatives every few years to check our shipbuilding facilities. They're expecting to find the usual destroyers and cruisers. Instead, they'll find this. Yes, and when they do, everything changes for humanity." Sarah spent the next several hours touring her new command. The bridge alone was larger than the entire command deck of her previous ship. Holographic displays showed star charts, weapon systems, and defensive capabilities that seemed almost magical. The crew quarters could house 5,000 personnel, far more than any human vessel had ever carried. The engine room left her speechless. 3 massive reactor cores provided power that could supply an entire planet. The chief engineer, Commander Rodriguez, explained how the quantum drives could fold space itself, allowing the ship to travel distances that would take other vessels weeks to cover. "We can literally step outside normal space," Rodriguez said, his eyes bright with excitement. "The math says we can appear anywhere within a 100 light-year radius almost instantly." Sarah's tactical mind began working through the possibilities. A ship that could appear anywhere without warning, armed with weapons that drew power from stars, protected by armor that existed in multiple dimensions. Humanity had built something that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. That evening, Sarah reviewed the crew assignments in her quarters. The best officers from throughout human space had been quietly transferred to Luna Station over the past year. Engineers, weapons specialists, pilots, and medical staff. All of them had signed the same confidentiality agreements, and all of them understood they were part of something unprecedented. Her door chimed, and Sarah looked up to see Dr. Elizabeth Park, the ship's chief science officer. Captain, I wanted to discuss the first activation sequences. Problems? Sarah asked. Not problems exactly, but the ship's systems are so advanced that we're still learning what they can do. The AI, for instance, has been running simulations of combat scenarios. Its predictions are disturbing. Sarah gestured for Park to sit. Explain. The computer calculates that this single ship could defeat the combined fleets of most galactic civilizations. Not damage them, Captain. Defeat them completely. The weight of command had never felt heavier. Sarah had accepted responsibility for a weapon that could potentially destroy entire star systems. The inspection fleet will arrive in the morning, Sarah said. What happens when they see what we've built? Park was quiet for a moment. According to the AI's analysis, they'll demand immediate destruction of the ship. When we refuse, they'll attempt to take it by force. And then? Then we find out if humanity's greatest achievement is also our greatest mistake. The next morning came too quickly. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Unbound as 3 alien vessels approached Luna Station. The inspection fleet consisted of ships from different Galactic Council member species, each one representing the standard military technology that governed space warfare. Incoming. Transmission, reported Lieutenant Hayes from the communications station. On screen, Sarah ordered. The main display showed a reptilian face with large eyes and a prominent crest. Inspector Vorthen of the Galactic Council had conducted these inspections for over a decade. Greetings, Luna Station, Vorthen said in accented English. We request permission to begin our scheduled inspection of human military facilities. Admiral Martinez appeared on a secondary screen from the station's command center. Permission granted, Inspector. However, I should inform you that we have a new vessel undergoing final preparations. New vessel? Vorthen's crest flattened slightly. What class of ship? Sarah watched Martinez pause before answering. I believe you'll need to see it for yourself. 20 minutes later, Inspector Vorthen and his team materialized on the observation deck where Sarah had first seen her ship. The inspector's reaction was immediate and dramatic. His crest turned bright red, and he began speaking rapidly in his native language. This cannot be permitted to exist, Vorthen finally said in English. The size alone violates 17 different treaties. The weapon systems... He paused, studying the readings on his scanner. These readings cannot be correct. They're correct, Martinez said calmly. This ship must be destroyed immediately, Vorthen declared. It represents a clear violation of galactic law and a threat to established peace. Sarah stepped forward. Inspector, this ship represents humanity's right to defend itself. Vorthen turned his large eyes toward her. You are the commander of this abomination? I'm Captain Sarah Chen, and this is my ship. Then you will oversee its destruction, Captain. The Galactic Council will not permit this vessel to remain operational. Sarah looked at Admiral Martinez, who nodded slightly. They had expected this response. I'm afraid that won't be happening, Inspector, Sarah said quietly. Vorthen's crest flared again. Then humanity has chosen to place itself outside galactic law. The consequences will be severe. As the inspection team transported back to their ships, Sarah knew that everything had changed. Humanity had revealed its greatest weapon, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. 3 days after Inspector Vorthen's departure from Luna Station, the long-range sensors detected them. Sarah Chen studied the tactical display. On the bridge of the Prometheus Unbound as 12 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Zephyrian fleet configuration, reported Commander Williams from the tactical station. 3 dreadnoughts, 6 heavy cruisers, and 3 support vessels. Sarah had fought Zephyrian pirates before, but she had never seen a fleet this large operating together. The hegemony of Zephyrian worlds was the galaxy's dominant military power, and they had just sent enough firepower to level a small planet. Incoming transmission, announced Lieutenant Hayes. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a Zephyrian dreadnought. Admiral Kethvar stood before the camera, his blue-scaled face set in a stern expression. The Zephyrians were humanoid in basic shape, but larger and stronger than humans with natural armor plating covering their skin. Human vessel. Kethvar's voice rumbled through the ship's speakers. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to decommissioning facility, Gamma 7. Your ship violates 43 interstellar laws and poses a threat to galactic security. Sarah stood from her command chair. Admiral Kethvar, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. This ship operates under the authority of the human government and will not submit to unlawful seizure. Kethvar's eyes narrowed. Captain Chen, you command an illegal weapon of mass destruction. The Galactic Council has authorized its immediate destruction if you refuse to comply. Then you'll have to take it from us, Sarah replied calmly. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned to her crew. These men and women had trained for months on the ship's systems, but none of them had experienced actual combat in the Prometheus Unbound. Today they would discover what humanity had truly built. All hands battle stations, Sarah announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. The bridge transformed as combat systems came online. Holographic displays showed the approaching Zephyrian fleet, their weapons charging and shields at maximum power. The enemy ships moved in perfect formation, a testament to their military discipline. Captain, called Dr. Park from the science station, the AI is requesting permission to activate full combat protocols. Sarah hesitated for a moment. The artificial intelligence had been designed to coordinate the ship's impossible weapon systems, but giving it complete control felt like crossing a line they couldn't return from. Permission granted, she said. The change was immediate. Every system on the ship hummed with new energy as the AI took control of weapons targeting, defensive measures, and tactical positioning. The bridge displays showed calculation streams moving too fast for human eyes to follow. Enemy fleet entering weapons range, reported Williams. They're spreading out to surround us. Sarah watched the tactical display as the Zephyrian ships positioned themselves in a classic encirclement pattern. It was a formation designed to prevent escape and concentrate firepower on a single target. Against any normal vessel, it would have been devastating. Captain, the AI's voice spoke through the ship's speakers. Recommend immediate activation of quantum fold armor and stellar plasma weapons. Enemy vessels pose minimal threat under current tactical conditions. Minimal threat. Sarah almost smiled at the AI's assessment. The Zephyrian fleet represented enough firepower to destroy entire star systems, and their computer dismissed them as a minor concern. The Zephyrians are opening fire, Williams announced. Sarah watched as hundreds of energy beams and missile salvos streaked toward the Prometheus Unbound. The weapon impacts would have vaporized any other human ship instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The enemy fire passed through sections of the ship's hull as if they weren't there, while other portions absorbed impacts that should have breached the armor. The quantum-folded protection was working exactly as designed. No damage reported, called the damage control officer. All systems operating normally. Admiral Kethvar's voice crackled over the emergency communication channel. Impossible. Our sensors show direct hits on your vessel. Admiral, Sarah replied. You're about to see what happens when humans decide to break the rules. She nodded to Williams, who activated the stellar plasma manipulators. The strange barrel-like weapons along the ship's hull began drawing energy directly from the sun. Sarah watched in fascination as streams of stellar fire collected and focused into concentrated beams. Firing, Williams announced. The first beam struck the lead Zephyrian dreadnought. The massive ship's shields flared and died instantly, overwhelmed by the raw power of solar plasma. The beam continued through the hull, cutting the vessel in half. Secondary explosions tore through both sections as the dreadnought's reactor cores overloaded. Second target acquired, the AI reported. Another beam lanced out, this one striking a heavy cruiser. The Zephyrian ship simply disintegrated, its molecular structure unable to withstand the temperatures found in the heart of a star. They're trying to retreat, Williams reported, but his voice held a note of confusion. Sarah looked at the tactical display and understood his confusion. The Zephyrian ships were attempting to flee, but they were moving impossibly slowly. Space around them seemed to be distorting. Gravity well generators active, the AI explained. Enemy vessels cannot achieve escape velocity. Sarah had read about this system but had never seen it in action. The Prometheus Unbound could create artificial gravity fields that trapped enemy ships like insects in amber. The Zephyrian fleet was caught, unable to retreat or maneuver effectively. Captain, Hayes called from communications. Admiral Kethvar is requesting immediate ceasefire. On screen, Sarah ordered. Kethvar's bridge was a chaos of sparks and smoke. The Admiral's usual composure had cracked, revealing fear in his eyes. Captain Chen, we surrender. Stop your attack. Stand down your weapons and withdraw from the system, Sarah replied. You came here to destroy my ship. I'm giving you a chance to leave with your lives. Our weapons are offline. Our engines are trapped. You must release us." Sarah looked at Williams, who shook his head. "3 ships destroyed, Admiral. The rest are disabled but intact." Sarah made her decision. AI, release the gravity wells. Allow the surviving ships to withdraw. The distortion in space faded and the remaining Zephyrian vessels limped away from the battle zone. Admiral Kethvar's face reappeared on the screen. "Captain Chen," he said slowly, "what you have done here will not be forgotten. Every civilization in the galaxy will learn of this day." "Good," Sarah replied. "Let them know that humanity will defend itself." As the Zephyrian fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Sarah realized the true magnitude of what had just occurred. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had attacked them, with overwhelming numbers and superior positioning. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes, and the Prometheus Unbound had suffered no damage whatsoever. "Captain," Dr. Park said quietly, "our sensors detected the Admiral's final transmission before they jumped to hyperspace. He sent a galaxy-wide emergency broadcast, and what did he say? That humanity has created a weapon that threatens the established order of power. He's calling for immediate action by all member civilizations of the Galactic Council." Sarah nodded grimly. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Commander Rodriguez joined them on the bridge, his face flushed with excitement. "Captain, the engineering teams are analyzing the weapon performance data. The stellar plasma manipulators operated at only 15% capacity. We could have destroyed the entire fleet in the first salvo." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. If they had been using only a fraction of the ship's true power, what would happen when they faced a larger enemy force? "Send a message to Earth Command," Sarah ordered. "Tell them the galaxy now knows what we've built. Request immediate instructions on how to proceed." As the bridge crew carried out her orders, Sarah stared at the tactical display. The dots representing the retreating Zephyrian ships were fading from the screen, but she knew they would return. And next time, they wouldn't come alone. The Prometheus Unbound had won its first battle, but Sarah understood that victory had come at a terrible price. Humanity had revealed the full extent of their technological advancement, and the galaxy would never trust them again. Every alien civilization would now see humans as a threat that needed to be eliminated. She looked around the bridge at her crew. These brave men and women had just participated in the most one-sided space battle in recorded history. They had proven that human ingenuity and determination could overcome seemingly impossible odds. But Sarah also knew that their greatest challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless civilizations and unimaginable military forces. Today they had defeated 1 fleet. Tomorrow they might face 1,000. 2 weeks after the battle with the Zephyrian fleet, Sarah Chen watched the long-range sensor displays with growing concern. Ships were gathering at the edge of human space in numbers she had never imagined possible. The galaxy had responded to Admiral Kethvar's emergency broadcast with unprecedented unity. "Current count stands at over 8,000 vessels," reported Commander Williams from the tactical station. "Representatives from 47 different species." Sarah studied the massive fleet composition on the main display. Crystalline collective ships that looked like floating gemstones hung alongside the organic vessels of the Symbiont Union. Mechanical constructs from the machine Concordat moved in perfect formation near the chaotic swarms of hive mind drones. Species that had been at war for centuries were now working together for a single purpose. "Any word from Earth Command?" Sarah asked. Lieutenant Hayes shook his head. "Still no response, Captain. All communication channels to Earth have been jammed for the past week." The isolation was intentional. The Galactic Alliance wanted to ensure that the Prometheus Unbound received no support or reinforcement from the rest of humanity. They had effectively cut off 1 ship from the entire human race. Dr. Park approached from the science station, her face pale. "Captain, I've been analyzing the sensor data from the assembled fleet. The technological diversity is staggering. They've brought capabilities we've never encountered before." "Explain," Sarah ordered. "The Crystalline Collective has ships that can phase shift between dimensions. The Voidwalkers have brought reality-bending specialists, and the quantum signatures from the ancient vessels." Park paused, checking her readings again. "The Ancients have actually emerged from their isolation to join this alliance." Sarah felt the weight of that revelation. The Ancients were a mysterious race that had mastered space travel millions of years before humans had even evolved. They rarely interfered in galactic affairs, preferring to observe from their hidden territories. If they had joined the alliance against humanity, the situation was far more serious than anyone had imagined. Incoming transmission, Hayes announced. Multiple sources broadcasting on all frequencies. Main screen, Sarah ordered. The display split into dozens of smaller images, each showing a different alien representative. Sarah recognized some of the species from diplomatic files, but others were completely unknown to human science. A familiar blue-scaled face appeared in the center of the display. Admiral Kethvar spoke first, his voice carrying a tone of grim determination. Captain Chen, you see before you the united civilizations of this galaxy. Your weapon of mass destruction has forced us to set aside centuries of conflict to address a common threat. A crystalline being that sparkled like a living diamond spoke next, its voice creating harmonic overtones. The vessel you command violates the fundamental principles of galactic law. It possesses capabilities that no single civilization should control. Sarah stood from her command chair, knowing that her response would determine the course of the coming battle. Representatives of the Galactic Alliance, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel, Prometheus Unbound. This ship was built to defend humanity's right to exist in this galaxy. Your right to exist is not in question, replied a new voice. Sarah looked at the speaker and felt her breath catch. The being on the screen was clearly one of the ancients. Tall, ethereal, with features that seemed to shift between solid and energy. What is in question is your right to possess technology that threatens all life in this galaxy. The ancient continued. I am eternal watcher of stars. I have observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations across millions of years. Never have I seen a single vessel with the capability to destabilize the cosmic order itself. Sarah felt the weight of those words. When beings that old and wise considered her ship a threat to the galaxy itself, perhaps they had built something too powerful. Another voice joined the conversation, this one mechanical and precise. Analysis indicates that your vessel's weapon systems draw energy directly from stellar sources. Continued use of such technology could destabilize star systems throughout this galactic region. Dr. Park quietly handed Sarah a data pad with tactical analysis. The numbers were staggering. The assembled fleet represented the combined military might of nearly half the known galaxy. Even with the Prometheus Unbound's advanced capabilities, the odds seemed impossible. Captain Chen, Admiral Kethvar continued, we offer you one final opportunity. Surrender your vessel for decommissioning, and humanity will be permitted to maintain its current territories and technology levels. Refuse, and we will take your ship by force. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. These men and women had volunteered for this mission knowing the risks. They had families on Earth, dreams of returning home, and every reason to accept the galaxy's terms. But they also understood what surrender would mean for humanity's future. How long do we have to consider your offer? Sarah asked. 12 standard hours, Eternal Watcher of Stars replied. After that time, we will assume your answer is refusal. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Sarah stared at the tactical display showing the massive enemy fleet. Over 8,000 ships representing technologies that humanity barely understood, all focused on destroying or capturing her vessel. Captain, Commander Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. Request permission to join you on the bridge. Granted, Sarah replied. Rodriguez arrived a few minutes later, followed by the senior staff from engineering, weapons, and navigation. These officers had worked on the Prometheus Unbound since its construction began, and they knew its capabilities better than anyone. We've been running simulations, Rodriguez began. The AI has calculated battle scenarios against fleets of this size, and the computer predicts a 73% probability of victory if we use all available weapon systems, Rodriguez said. But the cost would be enormous. Dr. Park pulled up a holographic projection showing potential battle outcomes. The stellar plasma manipulators operating at full capacity would require drawing energy from our sun. The calculations show potential solar instability that could affect Earth's climate for decades. Sarah studied the projection with growing horror. Winning the battle might save humanity's right to advanced technology, but it could devastate their home planet in the process. There's something else, Rodriguez continued. The AI has been analyzing the enemy fleet composition. Some of those technologies are completely unknown to human science. The reality-bending capabilities of the Void Walkers, the dimensional phase technology of the Crystalline Collective. We don't know how effective our weapons will be against them. Commander Williams joined the discussion. Captain, I've been monitoring enemy communications. They're not just here to destroy us. They want to capture the ship intact and study our technology. Why? Sarah asked. Because they're afraid, Williams replied. Admiral Keithvar's private communications with his fleet commanders showed genuine terror. They believe humanity could build more ships like this one. The galaxy is uniting not just to stop us, but to prevent us from changing the balance of power permanently. Sarah realized the true scope of their situation. This wasn't just about one ship or one battle. The galaxy was trying to prevent humanity from becoming a major power. They wanted to keep humans confined to their small corner of space, dependent on alien technology and subject to alien laws. Captain, Dr. Park said quietly, I've been monitoring civilian communication channels throughout human space. Word is leaked about our situation. The entire human population knows that their most advanced warship is facing impossible odds. What's the public reaction? Pride, Captain. They're proud that humanity built something that scares the entire galaxy, but they're also afraid of what happens if we lose. Sarah understood that fear. If the Prometheus Unbound was defeated, humanity would face severe restrictions on their technological development. They would be permanently relegated to a minor species, forever dependent on the goodwill of more advanced civilizations. Recommendations? Sarah asked her senior staff. Fight, Rodriguez said immediately. The ship was built to defend humanity. That's exactly what we should do. The odds are impossible, Williams countered. 8,000 ships, Captain. Even our advanced technology has limits. The AI believes we can win, Park added. And the computer has access to tactical data we can't even process. Sarah looked at each of her officers in turn. These were the best minds humanity had produced, and they were divided on the correct course of action. The decision would ultimately rest with her. I need some time to think, Sarah said. Dismissed. As her staff left the bridge, Sarah remained at the tactical display. 8,000 alien ships hung at the edge of the solar system, waiting for her answer. Behind them stood the combined might of galactic civilization, determined to prevent humanity from challenging their authority. But behind Sarah stood humanity itself, billions of people who had built their greatest achievement despite alien laws and restrictions. They had proven that humans could create technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen. The question now was whether one ship, no matter how advanced, could stand against the combined might of the known universe. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Unbound as the 12-hour deadline expired. Through the main view screen, she could see the massive galactic fleet beginning to move. Over 8,000 ships from 47 different civilizations advanced toward her single vessel, with the inevitability of a cosmic storm. All stations report ready for combat, Commander Williams announced from the tactical station. Quantum fold armor is active, stellar plasma manipulators are charged, and the AI has calculated initial targeting solutions. Sarah had spent her final hours walking through the ship, speaking with the crew. 5,000 human souls depended on her decisions today. They had volunteered for this mission knowing the risks, but none of them could have imagined facing odds like these. Captain, Dr. Park called from the science station, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the enemy fleet. They're coordinating their attack. The Alien Alliance had learned from Admiral Keithvar's defeat. Instead of attacking piecemeal, they planned to overwhelm the Prometheus Unbound with simultaneous strikes from multiple directions. It was a sound tactical approach that should have guaranteed victory. Incoming transmission, Hayes reported. Eternal Watcher of Stars appeared on the main screen, the ancient's ethereal features showing something that might have been regret. Captain Chen, you have chosen the path of resistance. I am older than your species by millions of years, and I take no pleasure in what must now occur. Then don't do it, Sarah replied. Withdraw your fleets and let humanity develop in peace. Peace is precisely what we seek to preserve, the ancient responded. Your vessel represents chaos and destruction on a galactic scale. We cannot permit it to exist. The transmission ended and Sarah turned to her crew. All hands, this is the captain. Today we fight not just for our ship, but for humanity's right to defend itself. Show them what humans can accomplish when we refuse to accept defeat. The first wave of attacks came from the crystalline collective ships. Dozens of gem-like vessels began phase-shifting through dimensions, appearing at random locations around the Prometheus Unbound. Their weapons fired beams of coherent light that could cut through most known materials. The quantum fold armor responded exactly as designed. The crystal beams passed through sections of the ship's hull that existed in alternate dimensions, while striking sections that were temporarily solid. The effect was surreal. Weapons fire seemed to phase in and out of reality around the human vessel. "No damage reported," called the damage control officer. "Quantum armor is operating at peak efficiency." Sarah watched in fascination as the AI coordinated their response. The stellar plasma manipulators fired with impossible precision, drawing energy from the sun and focusing it into concentrated beams. 3 crystalline ships disintegrated instantly, their phase shift technology offering no protection against the raw fury of solar fire. "Second wave incoming," Williams announced. Mechanical ships from the machine Concordat. The robot vessels approached in perfect geometric formations, their movements precise and calculated. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, with adaptive armor that could reconfigure itself to resist different types of attacks. Against conventional weapons, they were nearly invulnerable. The Prometheus Unbound activated its gravity well generators. Space distorted around the mechanical ships, creating artificial gravity fields that crushed their hulls like tin cans. The perfectly calculated formations collapsed as ships were pulled together by forces that exceeded their structural limits. "Impossible." Admiral Kethvar's voice crackled over the emergency communication channel. "Our sensors show gravitational anomalies that shouldn't exist." "You're seeing what happens when humans decide to rewrite the laws of physics," Sarah replied calmly. The battle continued with wave after wave of alien attacks. Hive-mind drones swarmed the Prometheus Unbound in chaotic formations, only to be destroyed by weapons that fired faster than their collective intelligence could process. Symbiont Union vessels attempted to board the human ship using biological attachments, but the quantum armor made physical contact impossible. For 3 hours, the engagement continued with the same pattern. Alien fleets attacked with overwhelming numbers and advanced technology, only to be repelled by capabilities that seemed to mock the fundamental laws of the universe. But the Prometheus Unbound was not invulnerable. "Captain?" Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system, strain evident in his tone. "The stellar plasma manipulators are showing signs of stress. Drawing this much energy from the sun is pushing the systems beyond their design limits." Sarah felt her first real concern of the battle. The ship's exotic weapons required enormous amounts of power, and even their advanced technology had physical constraints. "How much longer can we maintain current operations?" she asked. 30 minutes at most before we risk cascade failures in the primary systems." Sarah studied the tactical display. They had destroyed over 400 enemy ships, but thousands more remained. The alien alliance was learning from each failed attack, adapting their strategies and coordinating more effectively. "Captain," the AI spoke through the ship's communication system, "recommend activation of emergency combat protocols. Multiple Voidwalker vessels are approaching with reality distortion fields active." Sarah had read about Voidwalker technology in classified reports, but seeing it in action was disturbing. Space around their ship seemed to bend and twist, creating areas where the normal laws of physics simply didn't apply. Energy weapons fired backward in time, gravity flowed upward, and matter behaved in impossible ways. "Activate all defensive systems," Sarah ordered. The quantum fold armor struggled against attacks that came from directions that didn't exist in normal space-time. Reality distortion fields created paradoxes that the ship's systems couldn't fully compensate for. For the first time since the battle began, damage reports started coming in. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported damage control. The reality distortion is causing structural failures in areas that technically aren't there." Sarah felt the ship shudder as exotic weapons struck systems that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Prometheus Unbound was taking damage from attacks that bypassed conventional defenses entirely. "Captain," Dr. Park called out, her voice tight with concern. "The ancient vessels are beginning to move. They've been observing our responses and now they're joining the battle." Sarah watched as the most mysterious ships in the galaxy advanced. Ancient technology was so far beyond current understanding that their vessels looked more like works of art than machines of war. They moved without visible propulsion, changed shape without apparent mechanisms, and radiated energy patterns that defied analysis. The first ancient weapon struck the Prometheus Unbound with devastating effect. The ship's artificial intelligence screamed warnings as fundamental systems began failing. The attack hadn't damaged the ship's hull or weapons. It had somehow altered the basic physical constants that allowed their technology to function. Stellar plasma manipulators are offline, Williams reported. The energy conversion process has become impossible. The ancients have changed local physics. Sarah realized they were facing an enemy that could rewrite reality itself. No matter how advanced human technology had become, the ancients had millions of years of experience manipulating the universe's fundamental forces. Captain, Rodriguez's voice carried desperation. Multiple cascade failures throughout all major systems. We're losing the quantum fold armor. The gravity wells are destabilizing and the main reactors are showing critical instabilities. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. They had fought brilliantly for hours, proving that human determination and ingenuity could stand against impossible odds. But they were facing the combined technological might of the galaxy, including forces that operated beyond normal physics. Options? She asked quietly. We could attempt a tactical withdrawal, Williams suggested. The quantum drives might allow us to escape the immediate battle zone. The ancients would follow us, Park countered. Their ships can track through any known form of space travel. Sarah stared at the tactical display as more red warning indicators appeared. The Prometheus Unbound was dying around them, its impossible weapons finally meeting enemies they couldn't defeat. Then she remembered something from the ship's technical specifications. A system so dangerous that it had been classified beyond her normal clearance level, a weapon that Admiral Martinez had mentioned only once and only in hypothetical terms. Rodriguez, she called over the communication system. What's the status of the stellar destabilization array? There was a long pause before Rodriguez responded. Captain, that system has never been tested. The theoretical projections suggest it could destabilize our entire stellar region. Sarah felt the weight of the ultimate decision. Humanity had built one final weapon into their greatest ship, a device that could threaten stars themselves. It was a weapon of last resort, designed to ensure that if the Prometheus Unbound fell, it would take its enemies with it. Around her, the ship continued to take damage as the alien fleet pressed their advantage. Ancient weapons were systematically disabling her most advanced systems, while thousands of conventional ships prepared for the final assault. The stellar destabilization array powered up with a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very fabric of spacetime. Sarah Chen felt the deck plates beneath her feet trembling as the Prometheus Unbound's most dangerous weapon prepared to activate. Around her, the bridge crew worked frantically to maintain control of failing systems, while the galactic fleet closed in for what they believed would be the final assault. Array charging at 15%, reported Commander Rodriguez over the communication system. Captain, once we reach activation threshold, there will be no stopping the process. Sarah watched the tactical display as ancient vessels moved closer, their reality-distorting weapons systematically dismantling her ship's defenses. Conventional alien fleets had formed a massive sphere around the Prometheus Unbound, ready to deliver overwhelming firepower the moment their exotic allies finished disabling the human vessel. 30% and rising, Rodriguez continued. The stellar manipulation field is beginning to affect local space. Dr. Park looked up from her science station with alarm. Captain, I'm detecting gravitational anomalies throughout the solar system. The array is actually beginning to destabilize our sun. Through the view screen, Sarah could see the impossible sight of their star beginning to flicker. Solar flares erupted in patterns that defied all known physics, while the star's surface rippled like liquid under the influence of forces that shouldn't exist. 60%, Rodriguez announced. We're past the point of safe shutdown. The effects were immediate and terrifying. Emergency alerts began flooding the communication systems as monitoring stations throughout the solar system detected the stellar irregularities. Earth itself would feel the consequences within hours as the sun's energy output became increasingly unstable. Eternal Watcher of Stars materialized on the main screen without being hailed, the ancient's ethereal features showing shock and horror. Captain Chen, what have you done? What humanity does best, Sarah replied grimly. We've created a solution that terrifies everyone, including ourselves. You cannot be serious about activating such a device, the ancient said. But Sarah could hear uncertainty in that ageless voice. The stellar destabilization would affect dozens of systems. Billions of beings would die. Then call off your attack, Sarah said simply. Around the bridge, her crew continued their work with professional calm despite the magnitude of what was occurring. These men and women understood that they might be witnessing the last moments of their civilization, but they remained focused on their duties. 75%, Rodriguez reported. The sun is now showing signs of imminent collapse or explosion. The computer models can't predict which will occur first. Admiral Kethvar's voice crackled over the emergency channel, his usual composure completely shattered. All ships, immediate withdrawal to minimum safe distance. The humans have activated a stellar weapon. Sarah watched the tactical display as the massive galactic fleet began pulling back from the Prometheus Unbound. Ships that had been closing for the kill were now fleeing at maximum speed, desperate to escape the potential blast radius of an exploding star. But some vessels remained. The ancient ships held their positions, and Sarah realized they were using their reality manipulation technology to try to contain the stellar destabilization. Space around the sun began to shimmer as forces beyond human understanding struggled to maintain cosmic stability. 85%, Rodriguez announced. Captain, the ancients are somehow slowing the destabilization process, but it's not enough to stop it completely. Eternal Watcher of Stars reappeared on the screen, the being's features now showing strain. Captain Chen, we are attempting to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. Your weapon is more dangerous than we calculated. Please deactivate the array before it's too late. Sarah felt the weight of ultimate responsibility. With a single command, she could save the solar system and billions of lives throughout local space. But she could also ensure humanity's permanent subjugation to alien authority. What guarantees do I have? Sarah asked. If I shut down the array, what prevents you from resuming the attack? You have my word, the ancient replied. And the word of one who has watched over this galaxy for millions of years. Not enough, Sarah said. I need formal agreement from all 47 civilizations represented in your fleet. There is no time for such negotiations. Eternal Watcher of Stars protested. The stellar collapse is accelerating beyond our ability to contain. Sarah looked at her tactical officer. Williams, how many enemy ships remain in the immediate area? All major combat vessels have withdrawn beyond the projected blast radius, Williams reported. Only the ancient containment ships remain close enough to threaten us. Sarah made her decision. Rodriguez, reduce the array to 80% and hold at that level. Don't shut it down, but don't let it reach critical activation. Understood, Captain. Holding at 80%. The effect was immediate. The sun's erratic behavior stabilized somewhat. Still dangerous, but no longer on the verge of immediate collapse. The ancient containment efforts became more effective, creating a tense balance between destruction and control. You're walking a very dangerous line. Captain Chen, Eternal Watcher of Stars said, but there was respect in the ancient voice now. Humanity has always walked dangerous lines, Sarah replied. It's how we've survived and advanced. Now let's talk about terms. Over the next hour, the most unusual negotiation in galactic history took place. Sarah Chen, captain of a single damaged warship, dictated terms to representatives of 47 civilizations while holding a stellar weapon at their collective throats. The final agreement was unprecedented in scope. Humanity would be permitted to maintain advanced military technology, including limited numbers of vessels with capabilities similar to the Prometheus Unbound. In exchange, they agreed to restrictions on stellar weapons and joint research projects with other galactic civilizations. The most important provision, Eternal Watcher of Stars explained, is that humanity will share certain technological advances while maintaining the right to defend themselves. The galaxy recognizes that your species possesses unique capabilities that could benefit all civilizations. Sarah felt a mixture of pride and exhaustion as she reviewed the treaty documents. Humanity had fought the entire galaxy and forced them to accept human independence, but the cost had been enormous. Rodriguez, begin shutdown procedures for the stellar destabilization array, she ordered. Acknowledged, Captain. Beginning controlled shutdown sequence. As the dangerous weapon powered down, Sarah watched the sun slowly return to normal behavior. The crisis was over. but she knew that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity had proven they could create technology that threatened the cosmic order itself. "Captain," Dr. Park said quietly, "long-range sensors are detecting the galactic fleet withdrawing to their home territories. The immediate threat is over." Sarah nodded, then activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. Today we have achieved something that seemed impossible. We have secured humanity's right to determine our own future among the stars. Every person aboard this ship should be proud of what we have accomplished." Commander Williams looked up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Martinez wants to speak with you." Sarah smiled for the first time in days. "Put him through." Admiral Martinez appeared on the screen, his face showing relief and amazement. "Captain Chen, the entire human race has been watching the sensor feeds from Luna Station. You and your crew have written a new chapter in human history. We did what the ship was designed to do, Admiral. We defended humanity." "And you did it magnificently," Martinez replied. "But I should warn you, the political situation has changed dramatically. The Galactic Treaty recognizes humanity as a major power, but it also makes us a target for any civilization that wants to challenge the new order." Sarah understood the implications. The Prometheus Unbound had won humanity's independence, but it had also marked them as a species to be watched and potentially feared throughout the galaxy. "What are our orders, Admiral?" "The ship will be stationed at the edge of human space as a deterrent force. Your crew will remain as her permanent complement, and construction will begin on sister ships to patrol our other borders." Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. These brave souls had volunteered for a single mission and ended up becoming the guardians of human civilization itself. "One more thing, Captain," Martinez added. "The Galactic Treaty includes a provision that the Prometheus Unbound's location will remain classified. As far as most of the galaxy knows, the ship has disappeared into the Outer Rim territories." Sarah smiled grimly. Humanity's greatest weapon would become a legend, a story told in whispers throughout alien space. The ship that had forced the entire galaxy to negotiate would fade into myth, its location known only to humanity's highest leadership.